After an incredible run on this season of The Amazing Race, I'm joined now by third place finishers, Jonathan and Anna. Jonathan and Anna, hello, you guys. How are you feeling now that the whole season's aired and everyone knows how it ends?
Hello, we are doing okay.
Okay, yeah. I mean, we're still feeling that sting of coming in third, man, and
And
it's kind of bittersweet, but
right, especially watching moments that you didn't get to see while we were racing. I think they were hard to watch.
yeah, sure.
They were emotional. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So one thing that I loved about you, right, is that you were so competitive all season long. And I think in the season finale, although it was hard for you, I think we saw like honestly maybe some of your more humanistic moments, which I really appreciated. So I'm curious to know how much did, making that final leg and still being able to complete it mean to you?
So yeah, I was telling the last person that interviewed us, we were mainly focused on getting to the final three, and so you see the tension sort of building with us, and particularly with me, as the closer we're getting. So it's like, we have a great leg in leg 9, but then leg 10, it's like, okay, it's the top 5,
And then you get
and then
leg 11.
leg 11, and it's even more pressure. And you see me getting progressively worse. But then we get to that final leg. And it's like kind of okay, wow, he's cool now. And so that's because once we got to the final leg, we both said, it's up to fate right now. And
100%. Yeah.
we got here.
Yeah.
We could just kind of let our guard down a little bit and just leave the rest to fate. And I think that's why I was able to have such a good moment there in leg 12, I think.
Yeah, no, that makes a lot of sense. I think just like getting there and being like, what it is at this point, right? Like what's meant for us is
Right.
meant for us. That there's nothing you can do at that point.
No,
So
Exactly. And we told Phil in the mat, like even with perfect navigation, like I don't foresee us winning this leg regardless. So and you just have to accept that as
Yep.
fate.
yeah. Now with that,
Sorry, can I just
go
go?
ahead.
Like, it's funny because you go through different scenarios of losing in your mind, and you know how competitive I am at this point. So I would ask her, like, would you rather lose in like a foot race, or would you rather lose the finale in a blowout? And by far, you want to lose in a blowout, because if it's a foot race, you will go back and obsess over every little thing you did for that leg. What could have given you that extra, 5 seconds here, 10 seconds here. When you lose in a blowout, it's very easy to come to grips with losing. It's like, okay, this just wasn't our leg.
Let's be real. Like we are the oldest team out of the top 3. I mean, these kids combined, I think their average is like 24 years old.
Not only that, they're both
and I'm not a runner, so there's no way I would have been able to run them.
They both have extensive like experience in the water as well. I mean,
that.
so we were just at such a disadvantage for this leg, and it just wasn't gonna work.
Yeah, I am curious though, because I mean, editing is obviously a magic trick in a lot of ways, but it didn't seem like you were all that far behind from Han and Holden. So do you know how far behind you were from the other teams getting to that final mat?
That was the magic of editing. I mean, we got blown out.
It was a total blowout.
It was, I think it was a bigger blowout. Are you familiar with season 32? That was like also a finale where it was reportedly a blowout. It was like It was up to 32 levels. Like we weren't close.
So Jack finishes the flyboarding in about 25 minutes after Han finishes.
No, it was like it was 30, full 30, and then Han comes. And that's why Han's crying. You notice how Han's crying. If it's close, Han's not gonna be crying. She's gonna be like, "Hey, I gotta go get Jack." She's crying because even she knows that gap is too much to make up.
30 minutes.
That was 30.
I finished about 45 minutes after Han.
And so we're like, at that point,
in the water for a very
literally smiling because I have already accepted my fate at that point.
He thought I had taken it because I was gone for so long.
Yeah.
I was like, no, I did it, but I was in the water for a long time.
It was not close. Although it's interesting, Han and Holden had that unfortunate car accident in the middle of the leg, and we did end up finding them at the final memory challenge.
And Jonathan, he's an assassin when it comes to puzzles. So
funny story. Remember in Bali in leg 4 where I have to go to the bathroom and I have to literally leave the detour to the Pendjor to use the restroom. The same thing happened here. I had to go to the bathroom.
He went to the bathroom, and even then, after he comes back and we start the puzzle, Han and Holden leave, and I think we left like 10 minutes after them.
So she blames me for going to the bathroom for not getting second place, because that's like a $15,000 difference.
Just maybe we would have been able to catch him. I don't know if I would have been able to outrun him, but
yeah. Yeah. I mean, hey, who's to say? You don't know, but like you said, it all ended up the way it was supposed to. So, something you've alluded to here a little bit is that, Anna, I was so kind of. I thought you talking about your water trauma was really profound this season, and then seeing you overcome that in multiple situations. I mean, it's like you picked the worst season to be on because there were so many water challenges, but you
We
did.
said this so many times. We call it Amazing Race Season 37 H2O edition because I mean we counted the number of challenges and I think we counted a total of what, like 10, 11?
It was a
The
record.
times that we had to get in the water, we had to do something that involved water. It's like we were in France and they're like, where's the nearest body of water?
They
We're in
even
the
went to the
desert.
desert and found
Where's
water.
the water?
So it really was like a cruel irony.
If I would
truly.
have known, I would be like,
Yeah.
you just like put me on standby for the next
Yeah.
one.
It was like,
Next
please,
one around.
go on 39.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Then-
But with that, and I am curious because especially in this finale, even though you were, behind, like you said, you did complete the challenge, and I could tell that was a very emotional thing for you. So, do you, as daunting as it was to face all these water challenges, do you feel like you kind of maybe not overcome, but maybe you did, like your fear of water? Did it at least help? Like, do you feel like you grew in that way?
You know what? I'm gonna say no, only
Okay.
because whenever you go into every challenge, regardless of what it is, adrenaline does something to you. And being in that competitive spirit, that you're just thinking about the challenge, not the fear. You're focused on the technique, not on what's about to happen and getting dunked in the water and all the things that go with that. You kind of block that off. So in my head, I was just thinking, you need to get down, you need to get down. So when I'm not getting it, and my instructor's like, you gotta have fun. I'm just like, I hate this. This is not fun. So I did not overcome it, but I'm glad I was able to complete it right then and
Yeah.
there. And I was, just able to work with it, even in the
Hmm.
midst of my fear and my trauma. But that's why you see me just get so overwhelmed after. But yeah, I knew right then and there that we lost our opportunity
Yeah.
to win.
Yeah. But you still completed a water challenge, which is a great win in of itself. So, okay, you guys.
It was a great moment. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, I have to get into it. You've alluded to it a little bit. I'm sure a lot of people have asked you about it today, but obviously your behavior and communication throughout the season has been a largely talked about topic among the fan base, but also I just saw a video that you had found out about kind of like a recent diagnosis that may have spoken to some of those actions. So I just want to give you the space to kind of tackle that however you choose.
Mhm.
Yeah, obviously, it's hard looking back at some of these moments. Uh, at the same time, it is a reminder of how far we've come since then. And
Oh
a
yeah.
big reason why we have come so far in such shorter time is because I found out that I had autism. And God, has that opened up so many answers for
Yeah.
us. And it's been like such like almost this is magic
The
bullet in a
weight
way.
lifted off his shoulders, like, oh, I get it now.
And
Okay.
it
Let's
has
move.
explained so much of, not just my behavior on the race, but my behavior.
It's just we always, even
Since I
as
was
his
a
family,
kid.
like since he was a kid, he was always characterized as this like different person. Oh, he's just very
I was,
eclectic, and
yeah, and
he's
so,
an introvert. He thought he was just an introvert. Like I just get overstimulated, so I need to like remove myself from situations.
and I was actually, I didn't even know this. I was nonverbal for a while.
Until you were 6 or 7.
Yeah, and I had to go to speech therapy to develop my speaking abilities.
Mhm.
And my mom was so concerned. Again, this is before, autism and the awareness is where it's at today. We had no concept of what this was, especially my mom, and not just that, but just also being Black. Um, Early on, autism was thought to be a thing that
Behavioral
just
issue.
affected white males.
Mm.
And so if you were a female, if you were a minority, that wasn't even considered. And so I think when I was nonverbal, they had assumed I was like slow, right? That was the assumption, the natural assumption to make. But then I went and I was tested, and it looked like I had like a superior IQ. And so,
That didn't make sense.
my
Like,
mom
what's
couldn't make sense of
happening?
that at the time. And
Mhm.
so looking back and knowing what we know now, it's like, oh wow, I was autistic. I was an autistic boy, but we just didn't know that at the time. And so
Right.
a lot of those autistic traits were trained out of me, not just from my immediate family, but from where I grew up. I grew up in Pomona, and if you're like a little bit different or weird, and you're growing up in sort of like not the hood, but maybe the semi-hood, it's almost a matter of survival to adapt and to learn
Mm.
different survival strategies and adaptations just to survive. and get by. So it's a really interesting story. And yeah, it's probably going to take up too much time.
But
to
it was
talk about.
these like really childlike tantrums, because that's what I call them. I didn't know how to describe them. You know, it's just like
Yeah.
speaking to a toddler that's just upset and it's placing blame and it's just going off. That led, it just rang so many bells. I'm like, what is happening? You're not like this at home.
Mhm.
But at home we live very calm, quiet, controlled lives. You know, he works with computers. He doesn't work with people. He works from home. You know, it's just all of these things that we've been able to control.
And it's weird because that's how it hides. That's how this thing has hidden in plain sight, essentially for 40 years.
Yeah.
You've gotten so good at adapting, and that it's almost become a part of your personality. And it's just like, this is who I am.
Yeah.
But it's not until we go on the race and
It
we're
completely
totally taken
added
outside of
attention.
my comfort zone, that we learn, oh well, no, this is a disorder. This is something
And
that
you
you
go in
need
with
to
an
take care of.
expectation that it's not, it's just not there. So it just causes so much confusion, and your stimuli is constantly going off, and you're just like, what is happening here?
Yeah.
That just makes you go off. And then who do you take it out on? The closest person near you, and
Yeah.
that is me. And that is hard for me because I'm also trying to raise. I'm trying to focus, but I also have to try to manage you, and I really don't know what to do.
And because one of
Yeah.
the one of the main symptoms is emotional dysregulation. And so when I'm on the race, I'm always like at level 10, and then something will trigger it, and there it is. It explodes. And because I can't properly understand what's happening in my mind at that moment, what is the cause? It's just anger. And oftentimes I would then just put that anger on the person right next to me, which was always my teammate. It's a two-person
Which
team.
is
So
never
she would
okay.
always
Yeah.
catch the blame, and it was never justified. And looking back when I see, I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing? But at the
Mhm.
time, it's like, this is the person that's responsible for my state.
I mean, imagine being around so many cameras, or at least we got so many stories of people that were like, oh yeah, well the cameras were there, so I was on my best behavior. Jonathan cannot even understand
No.
what is happening here.
It's like, yeah, I don't
It's
even know
like
where I'm at.
there's no self-awareness, there's no awareness of your surroundings. It's just like going off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was trying to digest that and dissect it. That eventually led to him talking to a doctor, doing the proper testing, and being diagnosed.
Yeah.
And every
Yeah.
time.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys sharing your side of the story on that. I think it's important. And I'm happy that you've come a long way within your own relationship and gotten a lot of answers since you guys filmed the show. It does make me question, though. I had actually written this down on my list of questions. The leg in Italy was one where I feel like you guys really shined. And I think you guys agree with that. I think the fan base agreed with that. But now it makes me wonder, do you feel like it's because there was some kind of comfort zone moments within that episode? Like I know you really enjoyed, putting the instruments together.
Not just that, right. So Italy was like a leg made in heaven, right? I found something that I was really good at. She found something that was in her wheelhouse. But
It's magical.
if you notice, there was no like twist, right? There was no, Deus ex machina type stuff going on to really, I guess, for lack of a better word, interfere with my game that day. So
Yeah.
we just ran just kind of a clean leg because there was just
Right.
it was just racing. It was just pure racing, and you get just a really good leg out of me when that happens.
100%.
Yeah. Yeah. So, given all of this, I feel like, and this won't shock you, but I feel like you guys, more than any other team in a sense, really kind of experience the highs of highs and the lowest of lows on this season, kind of as high as you can and low as you can. So, is there a moment that really stands out to you two within, your own experience with this, whether that's positive or negative, whether we saw it on screen, whether we didn't? Like, how would you maybe answer to that?
Yeah, I mean, and also I just want to throw it out there, like what you saw is what you get. Like we were just real 100% of the time, and I think we are continuing to be as genuine and honest as possible, even with like the recaps that we do on YouTube. But I just feel like, yes, literally all of your worst moments were shown on TV.
They got just about all of them.
95%
They
of
got just about
all
all
of them,
yeah.
which was honestly surprising. But there were so many beautiful moments that were taken out. Like for example, when I went skydiving,
Mhm.
I came down and Jonathan was in tears.
Yeah.
You didn't get to see that. He was in tears. There was a lot of like really cool moments that I wish would have been shown, only to maybe give it a little bit of balance.
Yeah.
So the audience could also like understand that you're human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That you're not just this like heartless robot,
Yeah.
that's just lashing at his wife. It's just, I wish there would have been a little bit more balance with that edit,
And then just
100%.
just sometimes things would happen, and these things were not shown, and they would cause me to kind of they would be the catalyst in the chemical
And
reaction.
without context, you just see the result and the response.
Just
So
immediate.
it's just kind of,
It looks like I'm just kind of like super crazy, even though I do look crazy. It looks like more crazy when you don't see what actually brought it about, and it's just
Yeah.
tough.
It's already really difficult to understand someone that is not neurodivergent.
Yes.
And I feel like a lot of the behavior that someone who is neurodivergent has can automatically be viewed as negative or
Yeah.
wrong
So in the
for
first
someone who lives in a neurotypical world.
leg, even it was so interesting, and this really proves that point. Even before we had any sort of like fight or anything, the first half of the first leg, people were already sort of like not feeling
Feeling
me.
us. Really.
And that's because I 100% believe that's because I am neurodivergent, because when you're neurotypical and you see something that's just a little bit outside of the norm, it's
Right.
interpreted as
Negative
negative.
immediately.
Anything different
Immediately negative.
is just
Mhm.
seen as negative. And so
Yeah.
their first impression of me right from the get-go, before anything happens, is just I just don't like him.
Yeah, he's too cocky.
Something is just off.
He's too loud. He celebrates too
Mhm.
much.
Yeah.
He's
So
obnoxious.
that's really indicative of what it's like to be a divergent person in the neurotypical world, right? And
100%.
it's tough. You're always
Yeah.
misunderstood. Always.
So going
Yeah.
to that
Yeah.
is probably not the best idea if you don't have the proper tools.
Well, certainly, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's good to have that context though, because I think like I said, there's a lot of us in the fan base that maybe don't understand all of that, and so I think it's good to have that context,
For
kind of
sure.
speaking to who you are a little bit more. My final question for you, and it's funny because you just kind of alluded to this a little bit, but I ask every team this to end every interview, which is, I know it was a complex situation for you, but you guys, like you said, you did do really well in the race. So would you ever consider returning again and doing this all over again?
I'll let you answer that. I don't know. I don't think I don't know. Ask me maybe in
Yeah.
a few months.
I'm gonna
Fair.
be honest. I'm gonna be honest. I think if again what I just said, exactly what you said, alluding to what I just said, knowing that neurotypical people will automatically see me and come to this kind of judgment right away. If the people that make the show can maybe see me as more of a human being, even though I don't fit their perfect ideal of what somebody should be like, I think that would be cool. I would be open to doing something like that in that situation. But it would require, them meeting us halfway. And that's not always good for TV. I've got to be honest.
Yeah.
That doesn't line up with their objectives. And so maybe that would not work. Maybe we're incompatible. I mean, in reality
Hey,
TV.
listen, we told producers in every application, you cannot fit us neatly into a box. We're very complex individuals. We both come from very complex backgrounds, and we're just different.
Reality TV likes simple things, and
Right.
fit
Yeah.
into this
be
box,
white,
fit
and
into
that's
this
it.
box, and we don't fit into any box.
No, and I think that is what made us, in a way, for better or for worse, more memorable than other teams.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I think that's real. And honestly, I appreciate the honesty because I will say I've spoken to all four of you final teams today, and everyone's answers, I will say, have been very like, it's been a mixed bag, and that's not normal. Most seasons, everyone says yes immediately. And so I think that you guys, your cast is one, really strong, and two, you guys are really self-aware because there has been, a varying of reactions versus just saying yes. So I can appreciate that a lot. But Jonathan and Anna, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me and answer to your experience on The Amazing Race. Best of luck in whatever's next for you, and congrats on all your success this season.
Thank you so much, Blake.